I'm a trapper. So this video is a bit of an interesting video because I'm going to be doing a comparison video between killer powers and killer add-ons. We're not really going to talk about perks because perks are teachable. And I bring this up because I have this argument a lot with Mike Myers, where people tell me all the time that Mike Myers is an overpowered killer. Now, yes, he's very strong, but that doesn't necessarily mean that his power is great. He has we're not gonna start with Mike first, but I wanna bring this comparison. It's kind of late for me and I'm kind of tired, but we're gonna start. So we'll start. Here's a great example: is the trapper. So when you look at the trapper, let's look at his power. So basically, these traps are just traps. He sets them in the environment, and what happens is if the survivor steps in them, they step in them, and that's pretty much all he does. He is a basic default killer. He's the basic one. He's got a 32-meter terror radius, and he's a 1.5%, or a 115 killer, as we call it. The 4.6 meters, that's a 115. So, but his power isn't very strong. It revolves around a survivor stepping in it to be effective. So what do we do here? We're gonna look at these things. And we're gonna look at some of the stronger add-ons in the game. Obviously, you're going to start with an ebony. We'll start with the bloody coil is incredibly effective because it causes a disarm trap to injure a survivor. Now, believe it or not, the bloody coil isn't that great. It's nice, but it's not really that great because of the advent of things like, you know, self-care or med kits or just other survivors. It's not the greatest in the world. But it is good with something like a sloppy butcher. The iridescent stone, that's a fantastic add-on, believe it or not. Every 30 seconds, one closed bear trap becomes random. This can give you the appearance that the killer may be a lot further around the map than necessarily appearing. Fastening tools, this increases, this is basically just a speed thing. It's just used to, it makes it harder to get out of traps, and it makes it faster getting traps in. It's a convenience thing. The honing stone is quite possibly the best trapper add-on in the game because it inflicts dying upon the trap victim if they freeze themselves. It is insane. It is incredibly powerful, and it is the way that one of the best ways for trapper to get kills. Oily coil basically just makes it, again, it just makes everything longer to do. Stitch bag is nice because you can carry around multiple bear traps, but that's another convenience. Rusted jaws for mangled. And the wax brick is nice to get out. So of this combination of add-ons, how strong does it make him? Well, his power is quite weak. It still revolves around survivors needing to step into traps. So it makes the honing stone to be his strongest. And the second strongest that you would have to put with it would probably be an iridescent stone. That way there you have the ability to not have to run around and set traps all of the time. You can just set them. And it does give you a notification when a trap is disarmed or sabotaged. So an astute trapper knows, hey, they're over there. It's a free reveal system if you want to look at it that way. But it's not necessarily the best idea. A lot of people like to take the iridescent stone and swap it for a bloody coil. But that doesn't really work. If the survivor disarms the trap and becomes injured, you don't want them to disarm the trap. You want them to step in the trap. So you're better off actually just darkening the bottles with a tar bottle, which is also cheaper. The trapper's add-ons can make him very strong, but only on a few of these builds. The wax brick is nice for decreasing the chance of getting out, I should say. But, and the fastening tools is an even better version of it, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, the trapper is still relatively weak. Another character we look at is the Wraith, and the Wraith has a relatively weak power. It's a bell. Yes, he moves faster while he's invisible, and he gets a burst of speed when he comes out of it, but the problem with the bell is ultimately that it forces him to stop a chase, to go ding ding ding, in order to get out. So, what does he have going for him? Well, believe it or not, one of the strongest add-ons on the Wraith is actually a brown one. The Ghost. After uncloaking, the Wraith's Terror Radius and Red Stain are suppressed for 6 seconds. This gives you 6 seconds of free stealth time on a survivor. And you can combo this with a Bone Clapper, where they can no longer discern the bell or the distance, which means they hear the bell over the entire map again. Or combo this with the Catacomb Clapper, which renders the bell completely silent. That's your best one, too. The All-Seeing Spirit is not actually that great. It's basically surveillance and an add-on. It doesn't actually help you with lethality. It's great for tracking. Another thing, the All-Seeing. Auras of survivors within 12 meters are revealed to you. This can be nice, but if you're within 12 meters, generally you'll be able to find them unless it's like lorries or meatpacking. This is a nice one right here, the Shadow Dance one. Because this basically is like a free Bamboozle, Iron Maiden, Brutal Strength, when you're invisible. And that does combo well with another brown add-on where you uncloak completely when you break a pallet or damage a generator while cloaked. You get done faster and instantly you're out of cloak. The reappearance time and the movement speed, not really that great. The Mangled and Hemorrhage, that's nice. It's free Sloppy Butcher. Aura Blindness is always nice. But the thing I think a lot of people don't realize how strong is the Catacomb Clapper with the Soot. Shit, I fucked that up. Hold on. Or the Bone Clapper and the Soot. These are your two best combinations for pure stealth. And it makes the Wraith very strong, but the Wraith's power is still weak because, like Trapper, he only has these two combinations to really be effective. If you're going for the reappearance time or the movement speed, you're not really focusing on actually hitting survivors. Billy's another situation. However, Billy has a strong power. His power allows him to cross the map in a violent frenzy, and it can automatically down a survivor if he hits them. However, he doesn't have impressive add-ons. In fact, he doesn't have an Ebony add-on at all. He has a Begrimed Chain, which decreases repair speed of survivors injured by the chainsaw, which is a nice effect, and it causes a Mangled effect, but to be fair, all you have to do is heal up, and this effect goes away. Thompson's Moonshine is an incredible one for helping you control, but that's it. All of Hillbilly's add-ons are based around his power and trying to improve his power, but not changing how he plays, or really directly buffing it. It's just like Thompson's Moonshine, it makes it so that he's able to get around easier, handle better. Light Chassis, handle better. The Rusted Chain, it's Sloppy Butcher on Chainsaw. Thompson's Mix, again, these are all way of life things that increase your ability. The speed limiter I don't like because it's the same thing as the padded jaws. It's just not good. Sure, causes it not to... It's like a blood point thing and you don't down them. It's not really that strong. But all of these add-ons are actually meant to make him stronger. Rely on his power than his add-ons. So the Hillbilly is in the rare category where his add-ons are not that strong. They do help him control his chainsaw better, like putting on a Thompson's Moonshine with a Light Chassis, reducing the benefits, so you just tremendously increase steering with the chainsaw. The disadvantage to Hillbilly, however, is simply put, he doesn't have any way to change his power. He's just improving upon his power. Whereas the Trapper and the Wraith can both improve upon their power and change how it plays. Where the Wraith wants to kick gens in his cloak and immediately uncloaks and is ready to hit a survivor. Or the Trapper, who is able to injure survivors that sabotage his traps, making them easier prey for him to go after at that point. Nurse is another example of an overpowered killer that suffers from not having Ebony add-ons because her power is very strong. And you'll notice how Nurse and Hillbilly are two of the strongest characters on PC, and thus they don't have an Ebony add-on. The Nurse is such a disadvantage because her add-ons are garbage because of how strong her power is. She is able to chain through any objects on the map, and there are tons of great add-ons that she has, but they all have a drawback to them. This increases the charge speed of the blink, letting her basically instantly blink. However, it removes the chain blink, which means you get one blink by default. Campbell's Last Breath grants 2 additional chain blinks, but it reduces the range of the blinks. This is a strong add-on, very strong. Jenner's Last Breath removes 1 blink, but it increases the blink movement speed, so you get there faster, but it decreases the charge speed. Again, another trade-off. Cannonball's Last Breath removes 1 chain blink again, and increases the fatigue, but also increases the chaining window for the blink ability. Again, another trade-off perk. Allows you to see the landing area of the blink. It's kind of weak, but it's kind of fun to play around. It like guarantees you know where you're going to use it. Anxious Gasp. Increases movement speed. Decreases charge speed. Increases maximum range. Decreases accuracy. Adds 1 blink. That's a good one. That's a good one. You should run that. Heavy Panting. Increases the window. Increases the window. Increases the fatigue. Increases the charge speed. Increases the fatigue. Increases range. Decreases accuracy. Adds the chain blade. Reduces the range. Increases movement speed. Decreases charge speed. Reduces fatigue. Decreases charge speed. You see, this is the problem that the nurse has. Other than her brown add-ons, which are kind of crappy, her power is designed to draw her back. You have to take a penalty when you are playing the nurse in order to buff her add-ons. It's really just a matter of what you want to run. I personally love the Pocket Watch in order to reduce the fatigue time on the blink, which allows me to recover from chain blinking and be a lot more successful. I like to combo this with something that increases the range, like an Aztec Respiration, so that I can chain a lot farther away. It's not as accurate and it's a little bit slower getting there, but I have the ability to recover faster, and I have the ability to have that increased range. Next killer we look at is the Hag. Now the Hag is interesting because she has a lot of versatility around her playset. This is why I like her. More than the other quote-unquote top row killers, where these two really rely on their power and these two really rely on their add-ons. I mean, the Race, to me, is really only dangerous if he's running something around the bell, making it silent, the Bone Clapper, or the Soot. The Close Clapper, the Bone Clapper, or the Soot. Those are the only 3 add-ons I really worry about with him. Everything else, I ignore. Same thing with Trapper, the Honing Stone, the Bloody Coils, that's all I worry about. I don't really worry about the traps. Hag is different because Hag can force you to do certain things. So her power is not really that great. She can place traps down and she can teleport when she's within a certain range of them. What does she have that makes her so strong, however? The Mint Rag allows her to teleport to any trap in the level whatsoever, although it does have a 15-second cooldown. This means you can run this. This is a smart thing to have with an ability that increases the maximum range that which you can teleport, basically turning you into the nurse with a much longer lunge range and faster movement speed. The Water Slog Shoe is unique. Survivors within the trap's range are going to be slowed, and you are faster, but you don't get to teleport. This is a good add-on to run with, what's it called? Which one is it? Here we go. The Scarred Hand, because this also prevents the Hag's ability to teleport to traps, but it causes her traps to now have collision, so they get stuck on the traps, which is kind of funny. It also grants you bonus blood points. That's a good combo to run hand in hand. Disfigured Ear is shit. Don't run it. Basically just makes it deafening. It's not really that great. This reduces the Hag's heartbeat, the terror radius, when a survivor triggers the trap, and it causes the trap's heartbeat to be increased by 60 meters. Now, this can be played around very well if you have something like a Dark Devotion, an Insidious, or a Tinker, because it allows you to play around with terror radius a little bit. It's nothing really that strong, though. Rusty Shackles are her best at traps, no longer give an indication of being tripped, nor does it spawn a Hag Phantasm. So, what does that mean? Stealth Teleport. It's great. The rest of these are solid. Increases the trap range, increases the trap duration, increases the trap distance. People don't understand where it says increase the trap range. This is how far away you can activate. So if I lay the trap here and a survivor's walking by here, they would trigger it. This would increase it, so if I'm walking by here, they would trigger it. Now, duration time, teleport range, setting speed, aura reveal is nice. The aura reveal on the Willow Wreath goes very well with Rusty Shackles if you want to go for a stealthy type build as well. But at the end of the day, she's also at the mercy of survivors can crouch walk. Now, she does rely on her traps a bit more than other killers, but it's her powers it's her add-ons that really make her overwhelming. The Doctor is interesting because the Doctor is a similar killer. He shocks survivors by switching between stances, and it causes the survivors to have, basically they go on a mind trip. Now, the problem with the Doctor, this is what I want to talk about. His power is great. His power is great because it's annoying as fuck, causing those little random skill checks to pop up everywhere. The problem with his power, though, is they're not really that great. His only ebony causes every time a survivor gets hit with shock therapy, they get a new affliction. Just constantly getting new afflictions, and it's evil. It is evil. Constantly having to get stuck with these new effects. It's a great terror thing. The problem is, it's an iridescent, they're hard to get. If you look at the rest of these, they're pretty weak. Most of the things increase the range of your shock attack, also increase the charge time, and you are slower while you're doing your charge effect. This increases the charge time considerably. It does increase the range, but it increases the charge time, which does limit your ability. You have things like this, which change it from a cone into a beam, which it's not really that effective. You want to be the cone. You have some of these things that increase the madness of your static field, so survivors that are crouch walking around you and aren't getting shocked are still getting that madness generated automatically, and these offer afflictions. Some of the best ones are the ones where the Doctor shares in the patient's madness by seeing the aura of the illusionary palette, by seeing the aura of the red stain, by seeing the aura of the Doctor manifestations, because those give him very strong tracking ability. But at the end of the day, his power is ultimately based around tracking people. Outside of this, where Madness 3 causes exhaustion and the snap out of it takes an extra 2 seconds, this is evil to do. This causes the snap out of it timer to take a good 5-6 seconds. And if you're already running something like a Huntress Lullaby to combo with his power, he's even more devastating. But the problem is none of his add-ons really make his power any better. They do, but it's not a significant benefit other than tracking. So it's a downside because his power is strong. We will be talking about Mike Myers now because Mike Myers is fucking evil. I want to mention the fact that Mike Myers' power by itself is actually relatively weak. Hear me out on this before you start shitting on me in the comments. I know you're already typing on your little Google machines. Evil Within 1, which is what Mike Myers starts at, is horrible. Yes, you have a tremendously decreased terror radius. If I remember correctly, it is 4 meters, which is nice. And it grants you immunity to detection perks like Dark Sense. Problem. You also are slow as fuck. And when I say slow as fuck, he has the same movement speed that the nurse does. Oh. Mike Myers, with a short-ass fucking lunge range and a short-ass fucking movement speed, is being asked to chase down survivors with no ability to insta-down them. That's horrible, that's evil, it's malicious, it's mean, don't do that to us. However, Evil Within 2 is nice. You get a nice increase in movement speed and an increase in lunge, back to being a normal fucking killer. Good job, you want a cookie. It also decreases you also have a decreased terror radius from normal, but it's not that bad. And then Evil Within 3 hits and you have your normal terror radius, your 32 meters. Survivors will also suffer from the exposed effect, and Evil Within 3 lasts for 60 seconds. So basically, if you're running no add-ons and you get to tier 3, you get 60 seconds to capitalize and go bonkers on people. Realistically, you're only going to be getting 1 or 2 survivors unless it's a hook standoff where altruistic survivors are running in and swarming you like bees, at which point you just start whacking people left and right and knocking them all down. In which case, that's your own fault. Just go away. He's tier 3. Just wait. The problem is his add-on. Mike Myers has the most overpowered add-ons in the game. Bar none. I love Mike Myers. He's broken as fuck because of his add-ons. His power is weak. Basically, his entire power is he's a bit stealthier. He's a bit stealthier than the other survivors. He's a bit stealthier than the other killers. He's stealthy. He has more stealth than fucking, distortion, premonition, urban evasion, Jeff. But he doesn't do anything until he gets to tier 3. And everybody gets a big glaring notification that says, RUN! So what does his add-ons do? Let's start from the bottom. Basically, the lunge range for evil within 1, that's just if you're running a scratch mirror, which we'll get to later. You have these ones right here. Any of these that increase the duration of evil within 3, but increase the amount of evil required to reach it, in my opinion, are stupid. They're completely outmatched by later add-ons. They're nice if you don't have them, but they're completely outmatched by later add-ons. Movement speed while stalking is critical. If you can keep pace with survivors, you're golden. The reflective fragment is great if you're planning on running the item. I believe there's an item for tier 2 where you can't get out of tier 2. Is there one? No, there isn't. There used to be one where you... There we go. The vanity mirror. This is one where you cannot progress past evil within 2, and it reduces your movement speed, but you get bonus blood points in a lot of categories, and survivors' auras are revealed when stalking in a 16-meter range. Pair this up with the reflective fragment, where the aura reveal stays for 2 seconds for every survivor you stalk for 1 second, and you have the ability to track survivors down quite well at a limited range. Not the same range, mind you, as a boyfriend's memo with a scratched mirror. That's what I just ran today, and it's evil. It's bad. I had to abuse Dying Light and Ruin. They never cleansed my Ruin, and they had Dying Light because I killed the Obsession right off the bat. I ran into her at the start of the game, and I said, fuck you, you're dying. Evil Within 1 reveals all survivors' auras while stalking within a 32-meter range, and it does grant you lots of blood points, but you have to remember his power. You are slow as fuck. You are immune to detection perks, and you do have a fantastically short terror radius. I do want to remind you, though, you have no lunge range, and you are slow as fuck. So you are basically a slow-ass fucking killer that can't move at all. I digress. So then we have jewelry, movement speed while stalking. That's great. That's another one. Don't want that. The glass fragment, that's a good one to put on with the scratch mirror. But it's your choice. I mean, if you're still stalking them, I prefer the movement speed while stalking, if anything. The dead rabbit is fun. I like the dead rabbit. This moderately reduces terror radius of evil within 2. Now, the beauty of this is, remember, you have a smaller terror radius in evil within 2. And this reduces it to the same terror radius you have in evil within 1. Makes it, you're practically impossible to find. However, it also increases the terror radius of evil within 3, and if you combo this with distressing, your terror radius can take up close to half the fucking map at some point. I do like running it. It's fun as heck. The mirror shard, that's a decent one. That's a strong one, again, to run with a vanity's mirror, because the duration is a 5 second. This is also good to run if you're not planning on staying in evil within 3 forever, which is another thing with Mike. The Judas Journal is nice because it considerably increases the rate you gain evil from stalking your obsession. This is good with Dying Light if you're planning on just killing the obsession right off the bat. You have the jewelry box, again, movement speed while stalking, fantastic. You have the hair bow, I stay away from that. The J. Myers Memorial is probably the 2nd or 3rd best add-on in the game for him. I think it's probably, if you're going to say that Mike Myers has all of the best add-ons in the game for killer, J. Myers Memorial is easily top 5 killer add-ons in the game. Moderately increases the rate at which evil is gained when stalking a survivor, and it's a necessity if you want to use it with the following things. Here we go. The lock of hair is not really that great. Why? It's completely outmatched. The fragrant tuft of hair tremendously increases the amount of evil within required to reach evil within 3. Now, I want to explain to you how much evil you need to get this. You have to have every survivor stalked and maxed out. If a survivor DCs, you're not getting it. If a survivor dies too early, you're not getting it. If you can't find a survivor, you're not getting it. And no amount of J. Meyer Memorial is going to help you. That just helps you get this up faster. It's incredible. You have it. a beast terror radius, you've got a beast lunge range, you've got beast movement speed, you've got an insta-down, you can take risks, you can say fuck you to every pallet and window in the game, you can try and lunge through them if you want. It is broken, it's brutal, and it makes Mike incredibly strong. There's also another thing that makes Mike incredibly strong, and that are the tombstones. The tombstone piece grants you the ability to grab a healthy or injured survivor and kill them in Evil Within 3, but it basically takes almost all of your Evil Within 3. It also disables the ability to stalk. And you might say, well, why do I need to stalk in Evil Within if they're already exposed? Because you can still kind of find them. If you're not sure where they're hiding, you kind of stalk them. This is good if you want to get multiple people out of the game early. It's not good if you're trying to get the trophy, because at max, you're only going to get 3 people. You will not get all 4. If you want all 4, that's where the Judas Tombstone comes in. You can kill everyone. You literally, as long as Tier 3 Evil Within is up, you're good. You get 60 seconds that you can run around and just freaking murder everybody by your own hand. Again, you don't get to stalk during it, and it tremendously increases the amount of evil. Like I said, a lot. And on top of that, it decreases your movement speed. Judas Tombstone is broken as well. He has numbers of broken add-ons: Fragrant Tuft of Hair, the Judas Tombstone, the Tombstone Piece, the Vanity's Mirror, and the Scratch Mirror. He has 5 add-ons that are potentially game-breaking and good support pieces to go along with it, such as the J. Myers Memorial, the Jewelry Box, the Judas Journal, the Glass Fragment, and the Mirror Shard, just to name a few. He's broken with his add-ons, but his power is relatively weak, because it's such a limited window of time. Think about how long 60 seconds is. So you need about 15 seconds in chase. Let's say it's 15 seconds in chase. Pick the survivor up, hook them. If you've got to break a pallet or vault a window to get to them, whatever, another 15 seconds gone. That means it takes you approximately 30 seconds to get 1 survivor. Now, if you have all the altruistic survivors that try and run in and get a save willy-nilly, well, then they're going to go down, and you'll get a lot of those. But against a decent survivors spread out across the map, you're not getting a lot. We spent all this time on Mike. Well, let's talk about the Huntress. The Huntress is another strong candidate for some overpowered perks. Her power is relatively strong. It's as good as you are accurate. You get 5 hatchets, and you get to throw them. You charge the throw for maximum throwing speed, which means basically if you don't quick throw, then they'll go a lot faster. And you refill your hatchets at lockers. What about add-ons, though? Most of her add-ons actually apply status effects, other than a few overpowered ones, one being the Iridescent Head, which inflicts the dying state upon anyone you hit, but it gives you 1 hatchet. This can be buffed with the Infantry Belt, which gives you 2 hatchets. Two extra hatchets. 3 total. It basically gives you 3 insta-down abilities. The downside is you're going to be reloading a lot. You have the Begrimed Head, which causes the repair speed of survivors injured by the hatchet. It's basically the chainsaw one for Billy, and I believe Leatherface has one, which we'll see in a minute. And it applies the Mangled effect. It's not that great, though, because it doesn't stack. Just slows the speed. If you're running something like a Thanatophobia or a Sloppy Butcher, it doesn't work with that. The Glowing Concoction is nice because if you hit somebody and they try and run away, you get to see them for 5 seconds, which is always a bonus for me. Again, though, it's not really as overpowered. The Flower Babushka is great because basically you just go... I don't know why I'm wiggling the chair so much like that, but just go with it. Locker's auras are shown to you when you're within 36 minutes. That's not a necessity. That's just a convenience thing. Same thing, Rusty Head. That's just a inferior version of a Begrimed Head. Doesn't stack. This is where most of her power comes from. Venomous Concoction, the Sea Jaw. Things that allow you to apply the Hemorrhage, Hindered, Exhaustion, Blindness. Those are things that are very strong. Hemorrhage causes you to bleed more. So it makes it easier for her to track. Exhausted, this removes things like dead hard, sprint burst, lift, balanced landing from activating, so it makes it harder for you as a survivor to avoid further hatchets. Cooldown between hatchet throws, not really a necessity. Blindness is always a strong one. Hinder just slows them down, making it easier to do. The shiny pin's nice because it makes it so that you can throw a lot faster. You can move and throw a lot faster. The reload speed at the locker, not great. You're actually better off with Mad Grip, believe it or not, than that. But that's the difference between perk or add-on. So her power is very strong. And other than a few, once again, like I said, a few builds, she's not all that overpowered. We go to Bubba, or Leatherface. Now, a lot of people think that Leatherface and the Hillbilly are the same killer. It's not true. Leatherface cannot sweep across the map. He cannot go and just chainsaw across the map in one motion. What he does get to do is he gets a nice big sweeping AoE attack that can down multiple survivors at a time. And if he hits a wall or something like that, he can also punish stupid survivors that want to run over and try and heal somebody that he just downed with the chainsaw. His add-ons, however, are not very strong, because his add-ons are basically the same thing that Hillbilly has. He does have, again, these increase his handling of it, other than the begrimed chain. All of these things basically they're just the equivalent of the Hillbillies. So he has literally almost the same exact stuff. And that is the trade-off because of how strong his power is with the insta-down effect. So again, he relies on his power versus the add-ons. Freddy. This is the flip side of Mike Myers. Now, why is Mike Myers overpowered? Well, because Mike Myers has a strong power, if used properly, because he has fantastic add-ons. I just want to mention the fact that Freddy's add-ons are just as broken as Mike Myers is, but his power is shit. His power is survivors are awake. Freddy is asleep. Freddy has to put survivors to sleep by pulling them into the dream world, which takes 6 to 8 seconds. And in that 6 to 8 seconds, if they get a skill check, they're alive, and they fail it, they're awake! Yay! And if they're in the dream world and they find a survivor who's awake, wake up! Hey, they're out of the dream world and Freddy can't do shit! When Freddy hooks a survivor, hey, guess what? You're in the dream world, you can't do shit! You ran adrenaline, you are awake! Freddy can't do shit to you! No, it doesn't work. You can't hit a survivor, you can't do nothing to a survivor. The only thing you can do is pull people out of hatchets. Not hatchets, blockers. Fuck. I think I hunched there for a minute. Sorry. Freddy does have a 50% action speed penalty. That's like healing, gen, sabotage, totems, etc. It's really slow. But his add-ons are overpowered and broken. Let's talk. We're gonna start from the top and then go down. One of the biggest ones is the red paintbrush. Now, this is basically a tombstone, but it doesn't have the insta-kill effect. So this reduces your movement speed slightly. Not too bad. It basically puts him at about the same thing as what Legion used to be. Legion used to be a 110, 105. And that's what it puts Freddy down to. He goes from 115 to 110. It also reduces your terror radius down to nothing, which includes Zalala. And it causes survivors to go to sleep a lot faster. Lovely. Nothing wrong with that. The black box is one of my favorites because it causes one survivor to be the obsession and they automatically start in the dream world. Pair this with Dying Light, kill them right off the bat, and they're dead. Oh, did I forget to mention that any survivor in the dream world automatically is revealed to you if they're outside your terror radius. The problem with this add-on, though, is if the survivor spawns with other survivors, your obsession survived with other survivors, they just wake them up right away and you're fucked. But it's decent tracking if you run a Shroud of Separation with it. Z-Block is the best add-on you can have. It's a red paintbrush, but without the terror radius or the movement speed penalty. Class Photo is nice because while it does increase how long it takes for survivors to get pulled into the dream world, yeah, that's really something I want to do. it causes all other survivors' auras to be revealed to you when you're pulling one survivor in. So it lets you basically run around and try and pull everyone in at the same time. This increases the your movement speed while you're putting a survivor into the dream world. This basically lets you close in right behind them and lunge and kill them. Pill bottle. This is a stealth thing for you so they don't see glimpses of you during the dream transition. It's a convenience, it's not a necessity. The blue dress is evil because there's only two ways you get out of the dream world. Fail a skill check on a gen or a healing. I should note that. You can't use it on sabotage. Or you could just have somebody wake you up. This basically removes the chance of you getting out by a skill check. Pretty much you are all but fucked on that front. The jump rope trim is a good thing to go with it because it also decreases action speed even further in the dream world. This enables the survivors to basically have a 75-80% action speed penalty in the dream world with a decrease of getting skill checks. So not only are they slower on a gen, but they're very difficult to do. However, Freddy's perk also kind of counters, and this is like one of the few powers I want to talk about. Freddy's power, I messed up again. Freddy's power counters some of his perks, and this is the only perk I want to talk about. Sloppy Butcher is not a good thing to run on him because you want survivors to heal up a lot faster. You don't want them getting skill checks. Sloppy Butcher causes a survivor to take longer to heal, and the problem is that increases the amount of time that they can get skill checks. So unless you are running that blue dress add-on, they are going to get a skill check, and they are going to get out of the dream world, which ultimately defeats the purpose of putting them in. The thing is, you can't do anything. Things like this, where this is an interesting trade-off. It makes it so that they go to sleep faster, but they also have a better chance of getting out. This is a better version of it. You know, this to me is fantastic right here. An additional 25% action speed penalty when they are pulled into the dream world for the second time. This is important because this combos incredibly well with either the jump rope or the blue dress. If a survivor somehow manages to get that skill check and they get out the first time, you pull them right back in, and boom, now they are not going anywhere. That action speed is so slow. The range, the power range isn't really that great. What you have to understand with Freddy's power is his power is so weak, his add-ons have to be strong to counteract it, to make him manageable. The pig, oh fuck the pig. The pig has two powers that conflict with each other. First off, she has her ambush, which is her best power. Basically, she goes in this low crouch thing, she moves around faster, she has a lower profile, she has no terrorists, and she can just wind up and go, and attack you. And then she has bear traps, which they don't do a lot. The bear traps aren't really great because they're only good for slowing survivors down. You put a bear trap on a survivor's head, and they've only got a couple of options, and their options are pretty simple. Go and get it off your head, or die when a generator pops. The problem is, a lot of stupid pigs camp people with the jigsaw box on their head, which defeats the purpose. It's supposed to slow them down. Why are you tunneling that person? That's stupid. Let them run around frantically trying to get the fucking trap off their head, then kill them. Her add-ons are also a mixed bag of tricks. There are very few things that buff the ambush, and most of them are around the jigsaw. I don't understand these things where they increases the skill check odds at a jigsaw box. I don't want to do that. That just makes it go faster. That's not bad, but again, you have these two add-ons which you have to run for the crouch. All of these are based around the crouch, and they're shitty brown ones. This is a yellow one, and it's based around the crouch. Everything else, except for the Amanda's Letter, if I remember correctly, are all jigsaw trap related, not the crouch. The hemorrhage effect, you bleed more. Whoop-de-doo. Again, this increases skill check odds at a jigsaw box. You don't want that. That lets them get it off faster. This is great because it increases the amount of bear traps from 4 to 5. Good. Lovely. The blindness one, this is one of the best ones because it forces the survivor to not be able to see other survivors, so they can kind of lead the killer to you if you want to follow them. Slow resist toxin, that is an exhaustion, so basically no dead hard, no sprint burst, any of that shit. If you hook a survivor and pull them off, they're not using an exhaustion perk to get away afterwards. Mangled, that's a sloppy butcher one. Basically, you just get the trap off your head, then you heal up. Easy way to counter it. This increases the jigsaw boxes by 1, giving the survivors more places to have to search, and it also increases the death trap timer, which is not something you want. This tremendously increases the penalty of failing a skill check. That's just simple, hit your skill check. This increases the time it takes for a survivor to search the jigsaw boxes, and it decreases the time it takes to put the trap on the survivor's head. It's good, but it's just a convenience thing. The tapered timer is one of my favorites. This reduces the timer. That's good. They die a lot faster now. Increases the jigsaw box by 1. Another solid one. Makes them search a lot more. Creative Gears increases the time it takes to do that. Decreases the time it takes to put it on. This is a lovely thing to have, but it's a convenience thing. Amanda's Secret. This isn't great. So this disables your ability to see your own jigsaw boxes. Okay, I get that. That's the trade-off is you get a notification if a survivor removes it and their aura is revealed. However, this is countered by distortion. And also, some survivors don't remove the traps. This is good because this is a solid one. It's actually quite a common ultra rare, believe it or not, because what it does is it prevents the jigsaw boxes people from seeing them. But if they still run by them in the environment, they can take them off no matter what. They can try and take it off. It's a convenience thing again. Amanda's Letter is pretty powerful. So what this does is it reduces available jigsaw boxes by 2. That means there are 2 on the entire map. It also reduces the amount of bear traps by 3. That means you have 1. There's 1 trap. You get 1 trap, and they get 2 shots to get it off. And the trade-off is, while crouched, you can see survivors within 12 meters. That's not a problem, though. That's not a problem. This allows you to ambush survivors very easily. The downside is it makes your traps useless. And that's the ultimate problem with the Pig. Her add-ons are such a mixed bag because she has 2 powers to choose from. The bear trap or the crouch. Which one's more important? The clown! The clown! The clown's power is relatively strong. You just throw a bottle, and it launches, and when it breaks, and you throw the bottle, and when the bottle breaks, it releases a cloud of gas that will intoxicate survivors. What does that mean? Well, it means they're fucking slowed, and it reveals their location to you. And you get a slight, you actually get a slight movement speed bonus when you go through it. Now, this is the thing with the clown. His add-ons are pretty broken. Some of these are convenience, like reduced cooldown and movement speed, and reload speed, and duration, all that stuff. Where you get going is with some of these other things. Extra bottles, that's great, because it means you got more bottles to throw. You don't have to reload as much. The exhaustion one is fucking evil, because it counters things like lifts, sprint bursts, bounce landing, etc. The same thing as with the Huntress. Same with blindness is always great. Mangled is always great. Hindered is always great. You're already slowed when you go through it. This just gives you an even stronger one. This increases the duration. This expands the area. This expands the area and the duration. This increases the duration. This does the same thing. This gives you 2 more bottles. These 2 ebony ones are really what changes how he plays. First is the tattoos middle finger. So, intoxicated survivors' auras are revealed to you for 6 seconds. It sounds great. It's not that overpowered just because of the simple fact that they're already giving their position away unless they have Calm Spirit. They don't have Calm Spirit, you already know that they went through a cloud. Unless you're literally just inundating clouds all over the place and you need to see that aura. Another thing is, this is brutal right here, the redhead's pinky finger, because it exposes them. It one-shots them if you can hit that bottle directly on them. And it's not hard to do that, believe it or not. It does give you great lethality. But to be honest, this is kind of like Huntress. This is the only other variant to his playstyle. This is why he doesn't have that overpowered lineup. Spirit's another one. She's very similar to the other killers in the game, where her playstyle doesn't really change. These are all like minor buffs. The activation time is faster, recovers faster, longer duration, bonus movement speed in it. There are a few things that are a lot stronger though. Most of these are just like buffs to your power. In fact, all of these are buffs to your power. This is probably her strongest add-on in the game. Don't get me wrong. You will not know there is a spirit in the game until you run into her with this. If she Yamoka's haunting at the beginning of the game, you don't see her, you don't hear her, you're fucked. She can jump you. She can just jump scare you. She can just Yamoka's haunting up to generators and grab you off of them. Because you won't know when she's in Yamoka's haunting. It's evil. This increases Yamoka's haunting movement speed a lot. But the scratch marks are no longer visible. Now remember, you don't get to see survivors. That's her power. You do not get to see people. Just get to see scratch marks. You just get to see the fucking scratch marks. And this removes that. You have no tracking on that. This is the trade-off though. This is a good one to run because this reveals blood trails. And it's considerable. This is a great trade. It's like a burning row of fire on the ground so you can track people. But other than the Father's Glass and the Prayer Beads bracelet, she has no way to change her playstyle again. The Legion is in a similar boat, as is the Plague, as you're going to see this a lot. Legions are mostly conveniences. These apply status effects like blindness, and some of these are just slight buffs. The detection range makes it easier to find survivors when you apply Feral Frenzy to 1. Reducing the cooldown is always nice, because this means that you recover faster from ending Feral Frenzy. The broken stats effect is nice because basically they cannot heal. They can mend self still, but they can't heal for 60 seconds. The deep wounds timer goes down on all the survivors, making it easier to down them. And this increases the time a mend self requires to take place, which is always nice. The Frank's mixtape is still broken as fuck because survivors can still apply. When they hit you with Feral Frenzy, they can just reduce that deep wounds timer and kill you with it. Cold Dirt, that's another great one. But these two are the primary ones. The Fuming Mixtape is the equivalent of the Wraith one. It's basically surveillance as an add-on instead of a perk. And the Iridescent Button, which is his strongest one. Terror Radius infects the entire map, and any pallets you vault are immediately broken. There is some stuff that you could do with this. Because you can vault pallets, you can force survivors to throw them down, vault them, and instantly break them while you're in Feral Frenzy. And as well, whenever you're in Feral Frenzy, if you have something like an unnerving presence or an overwhelming presence, they're kind of fucked. But it's a meme build. What you're running is essentially a meme build that's based around countering one or two specific things. Last but not least, we have the Plague. Her power is very strong, but it does encourage tunneling. Just puke on a survivor until their infection brings them broken, so you can one-shot them. Her power doesn't really do a lot to help that either. This decreases Pool of Devotion activation and increases your movement speed while holding it. Most of these are, again, quality of life things. Most killers have these, and they're good things to have. They don't make a killer overpowered, really. The apples are the broken ones. The Ashen Apple and the Blessed Apple both give you a Pool of Devotion already corrupted, so you automatically get insta-down. All of these that increase the movement speed while holding a vial or a corrupt purge, or that increase the amount of time you have with it, or the effectiveness. These basically are just slight buffs. What really changes how she plays is the Black Incense and the Iridescent Seal. Iridescent Seal is interesting. This decreases the duration of Corrupt Purge, so you can't have it all the time. And it decreases your movement speed while you're holding Corrupt Purge, so it makes you slower. However, you get Corrupt Purge every time a generator is popped, so survivors gen rushing you are now going to get insta-downed quickly. And you have the black incense, which survivors who, this is if you decide to go the infectious route, not consuming those corruption, and just trying to infect them because you get a free reveal every time they vomit. And they vomit a lot. They vomit every 5 seconds. That being said, what do we learn out of all this? After me for going on for 50 minutes, what did we learn? The Plague, the Legion, the Spirit, the Clown, the Huntress, the Wraith, and the Trapper all fall into the situation of only having 1 or 2 variants to their playstyle. Their power is only as strong as their add-ons and perks are, because they don't really have any way to buff. Then we learned about the Hillbilly, the Leatherface, and the Nerf. And I'm calling him the Leatherface, I'm not calling him the Cannibal. These killers don't have any way to change their power whatsoever. Their power is as is, and all their add-ons do is improve their power. Because their power is so good, however, they don't need to worry about that improvement. And you have the Doctor, and the Hag, who are in a special category. The Doctor and the Hag both have multiple ways to increase and change how their power works. The problem is the Doctor's in the same boat as Wraith in them. Fuck all that. The Hag has multiple different playstyles with no real drawback. She can build multiple different ways, but her power is relatively weaker, because it does require a survivor to trigger the power. You could say the same thing about the Trapper, but he doesn't have very many effective ways. Then you look at the Nightmare and the Shape. They're in separate categories, but on opposite ends. The Shapes, both of them have overpowered add-ons, but the difference is the Nightmare's power is a direct drawback to his add-ons, whereas the Shapes is a direct buff. Every add-on that he has buffs him, whereas every add-on that the Nightmare has is a buff because his power is so bad. So that's what you have. Killers that have a strong power that is just getting buffed with no playstyle change. Killers that have 1 or 2 variations of a playstyle change. The rest are just convenience and quality of life. The Hag, and the Pig, who are both in the same boat of being able to have multiple playstyles depending on what you choose to go with. The Nightmare, who needs overpowered add-ons to counteract his shit power. And the Shape, who has overpowered add-ons on top of a strong power. Strong or weak. It's up to you. So this has been a comparison of some of the go-to add-ons in the game. I hope it's been educational. I've been trying to put out more educational videos. I've been trying to stream more, but it just hasn't happened. So, good job.